So one program I have worked on to get started is called WEB, Wildlife and Exploration in the Bronx. This is Pelham Bay Park. It's 2,700 acres. It is the largest park in New York City. There's a lot of wild areas. You can see a lot of great birds. You can see seals. You can see deer. I mean, this is, most people in New York City do not see these organisms on a daily basis, or at all, really. But if you go and explore this park, you can find them. We even have coyotes show up sometimes. So these are just a few things I want you to watch for in the pictures. A lot of these things I didn't plan. They just happened as we took these kids out. Writing a song about getting lost in the woods, jumping over mud puddles, avoiding poison ivy, catching a snake, hearing a woodpecker. So we live in New York City. I guess I should say this is a spring break trip. This is on their free time. This is on my free time. They don't have to go on this trip. They chose to go on this trip. 15 students went on the trip. It was last year during spring break. There'll be another one this year. And it's New York City. We take public transit to get there. So we use that opportunity to teach them about outdoor safety. This is something that they're not going to understand unless they're taught. Why is it important to cover up your arms and legs and head when you're out hiking? Why is it important to wear sunscreen? These are not things that they're going to learn unless they're specifically taught. You can see we're on these rocks, there's a lot of graffiti. This area in Pelham Bay Park is called the South Meadow. It's known for basically having a lot of cruisers, which is men meeting up with other men to do their business. And it's not exactly the best place for children, or for anyone that is not interested in that. And so, how can kids explore this wilderness if it's not considered safe? So part of this, getting kids outdoors, is also about taking back our public spaces. Taking back wilderness, semi-wilderness areas and saying, this is for nature, this is for education, this is important to our society. Students learn how to use binoculars. Here they're demonstrating the principle of circumference, something they often see flat on a piece of paper, and in this case they're actually using it in the real world. This is an interesting tree. It's estimated to be about 400 years old, right there in the Bronx. So there is wild out there. Getting people, especially kids, connected to it is very important. Students, we caught a wild snake. Many of them got to see one for the first time, hold one for the first time. Again, this is a very student-centered trip. Students are doing the work. They're doing the learning. We're not there telling them about it. They tested some water quality. Here they're picking out walking sticks. Here they're hiking using those walking sticks. On this day, it was actually sleeting. And here they are, hiking, having a good time. Again, using the walking sticks. This is the central forest, which we got lost in, and I was kind of upset because I'm going to get these kids back. It's going to be an hour late. Oh no, and the kids loved it. They've never been lost in the woods before. What an experience. The people at the front with me actually got to see a wild turkey as well, which was very cool because most people haven't seen it. Well, maybe in Missouri, but most people haven't seen a wild turkey. Students are engaged. So it's about having them experience nature. This student was particularly interested in rocks. I don't know a lot about rocks, but I did find out there are some metamorphic rocks, Fort of Nice specifically, that's exposed in Pelham Bay Park. And she was very excited about it. She could still tell me about learning about this rock. It was a very important and meaningful experience. Students standing on the edge. This is Long Island Sound. This is the edge. I mean, this is an experience that students have not done before. They've been over to Orchard Beach, which is just south of here. But they've never come and explored the wild areas that are right above it. There's another problem-solving activity. What happens when there's a giant fallen tree in the way? And to complicate things, there's poison ivy all over that tree. What is a person to do? And so it was an opportunity for these students to use their skills to think about how can we get by this. Jumping over mud puddles. Again, you don't want to be wet. How can you minimize the amount of water that you're bringing on yourself? These are real opportunities. Even if they're not thinking about it, learning, they are learning. When we got to this island, it's now connected, so it's not a full island anymore. I let the students roam, just explore nature. And I took pictures and I observed and see what they were doing. They were watching birds. They found a rabbit and they chased it. They picked up rocks. They noticed that there were all these, I believe they were barnacles all along the rocks. I mean, they were observing. They were using their skills, doing what we would hope that they would do if left on their own, and they were doing it. There's Students spotting a woodpecker in a tree. Most students are familiar with woody woodpecker. They've never actually seen a real woodpecker. So students got to see it for the first time, and also just even hearing it in the forest was something that they remarked was pretty cool for them. Students are engaged. They want to participate. When they're given the opportunity, and it's engaging, students will get engaged in nature. Just a final picture from this trip. We lost a few people by the third day. It was they stayed home and rested their legs while the rest of us went on the longer hike. I have an upcoming field trip, about 10 new students, 5 returning students, and an important part of this trip is that we can create a really high student-to-teacher ratio. So, really teacher-to-student ratio. We have 15 students and 2 teachers. So if you think about my classroom, I have 32 kids and 1 teacher. On this field trip, kids are getting a lot more attention, and they're having even mentoring going on. All right, this is University Woods, and this is the last project that I'm going to talk about today. This is a very interesting park. New York City has a lot of parks, hundreds. And the New York City Parks Association voted University Woods, which happens to be 4 blocks from my school, the worst park in all of New York City. This park has a very strong reputation of being dangerous. There have been murders in this park. Not so recently, but there have been many jumpings and muggings in this park. Look, there's a animal right there. That happens to be an animal sacrifice. Not to judge anyone's religion, but it is illegal to do in a city park, and it certainly is not welcoming to many other people, certainly children. I personally found hypodermic needles in this park. Also, not very safe for children. So what did we do? I got involved with this group that's actually run by a woman who lives in this community, and her idea is, let's take back the woods. Let's take back these public spaces. We live in the Bronx. We don't have Central Park. We don't have the nice manicured areas, but we do have this 3-acre University Woods. So we started a nature camp, and I was their bird watching instructor. So students learned all sorts of different things: how to identify birds, how birds are classified, why birds migrate, all sorts of bird-related material, but we didn't do it in a classroom. We did it outdoors. We did it while watching the birds, by looking at the birds, using field guides to tell us about the birds. Just give you a second to see those quotes. I mean, this is not just appreciation of nature. Students are also learning about it. They're learning how to tell the difference. Look at subtle things, like bill shape and the structure of the wings to tell one bird from the other. Students made their own field guides and actually had an opportunity at the end of the camp to inform community members that would come and visit the park about what they had learned about the birds in their park, University Woods. This is Amani. She enjoyed the spring break field trip so much that she came and joined the summer camp. And I think this quote says it all. The woods are a good place for kids or anybody. It's a good place to explore for birds and plants. This is what we want people to think in the future. We want people to appreciate nature, to say, wow, there are all these so very interesting creatures that live on this planet with us, and we share that. So how can you get involved in creating environmental opportunities for you? There are a lot of educational opportunities. I got my start in Teach for America. This is one program among many, teaching fellows, you teach abroad, do a Peace Corps. But basically, college students, if you're looking for jobs, there are jobs out there for teachers. If you have a science background, you could really make an impact. There is a shortage of people that teach science, also mathematics, and you could really make an impact on students. Parks in Focus is a cool program. It's done at national parks. They take underserved populations and get them into national parks and teach them about photography. So they get to experience nature in that way. There's also Outward Bound. New York Botanical Garden is a really cool gardening program. The kids take their seeds and turn them into crops that they can eat over the course of the summer. One thing that I would really encourage you to think about is doing something abroad. These are a couple of Achua children that I met in Ecuador, in the lowlands, in the Amazon. And if you notice, he has a Mickey shirt on. I'd like to repose that question that I presented at the beginning. If 1/4 of the world is under 15 years old, if a lot of the world is so young, what are they going to value in the future? What are they going to do with their time? And who are going to be the leaders of the future? Legislation, if you're into legislation, policy is not really my thing. There's the No Child Left Inside. This pushes for like $100 million in grant funds for teacher development and student programs, also state environmental literacy programs. So whether this one gets through or not, there are opportunities. If policy is what you like to do, you can help out children in this way. Empowering people in their communities is very important. If you've ever written a grant, one of the things that's always tough to get is funding for a salary. It's so tough that, in fact, I think it might be easier to find people that are already plugged into the system and connect them with the resources that they need. So Donors Choose is one example. And basically what this is students write up, or I'm sorry, not students, teachers write up their own mini grants and are funded. And I've been able to get microscopes, all sorts of models. Actually, that whole station rotation was funded through grants through Donors Choose. There's another one that's really cool, and this one is not just for teachers. As far as I know, this is the only program like this in the United States, but it's like a microgrant program. People in their communities can write up their own project and get it funded by donors throughout the country. This is how I got my compost bins funded. So if you have one of these programs, great. If you don't, you can always start one. This is a huge opportunity to empower people.